Welcome to the Color Cinema. My name is Aaron. I am lucky to be joined here by Ryan today. Uh, the Disconnected, that's your umbrella channel, I guess, for so much.
Yeah.
Uh, Started out, well, from when I found you first, was through YouTube. I hate everybody out there, Film much or Robert William. Uh, um, and man, has it come a long way since then. I remember the early days having you on the channel, talking
Yeah.
Vinegar Syndrome, all this stuff, and it was a blast. But to see how much you've done, how much you've blown up, you've got podcasts, you've got a company that produces
Yep.
features. You have a magazine, the Physical Media Advocate. So we
Yes,
have a
sir.
lot to talk about today. And I'm just the ringmaster here. You, this is definitely your show tonight to discuss things. And how's it going?
First off, it's very busy, but I do want to say first, thank you. Thank you for having me back. It's an honor. I've said this many, many times to you in public, in private. You're one of the greats. You're like one of the legends. You're one of the reasons that I wanted to do all this. I spent years living on your live streams and commenting literally while making dinner and raising my kids while kids napped on my lap, and spent years talking about cult films with you before I got the courage to do this during COVID. And eventually, the fact that we were doing stuff together was a huge deal for me. And then that first one where we were doing all the VS sales together, and that first time I just say, Aaron, I kind of think I
I
have to go do it on
remember.
my
I
channel.
was,
I'm sorry. I felt so guilty, and
oh,
now like it's this big thing. It's
but
changed so much.
you were like, I think people. I remember that day where it was like during a late night video, and I said, "Hey, you want to come out?" And you're like, "Oh, I think I got to do my viewers kind of want me to do one," and I'm
Right.
like, "All right, okay, there we go." Heather Mondo, and it's so cool to see like you. One, thanks you so much for the kind words. But it was so cool to see this progression. I remember watching that video, that first video. I think it was a guide to vinegar. I'm pretty sure it was a guide to vinegar showing them like shopping for the sale,
Right.
and it was so well like constructed and edited and written that it really stood out. And I'm like, damn, I want to be like him when I grow up. So, so I was like, okay, yeah, I gotta tell people about this. And I reached out to you, and now, my God, it has come so far. So let before we go any farther, one I got to mention right at the gate, you just started a new podcast from with Mon Macabro,
Yes,
which is
sir.
a favorite company of mine.
Same.
For those that don't know, when I moved to Nova Scotia, the first year that I moved there, my better half is from Morocco, and she loves like international films. And if I'm going to get her to watch horror or exploitation with me, that's how I do it. So what we did, and we went and we ordered. It was a sale for Mondo Macabro, so our entire Christmas was Mondo Macabro. And around the time, I think Jared got sick, and he actually emailed us and said, "Oh, it's going to be a few days late." I'm like, "Oh, I love this company." Because of that. So how did this get started? How did you end up like doing the podcast for yet another podcast?
First off, we're doing a lot of podcasts, and so it would just it felt natural to try to do official podcast for some of these labels. And a buddy of mine, Chris Haskell from the They Live by Film podcast, we were brainstorming the ones that were closest to us, the ones that we wanted to be able to work with. And Mondo was one of the things that brought Chris and I together way back in the beginning. And so we said, I'm friends with Jared. Why don't we see if this is something we can run with? And it happened very, very quickly. It all came together, and because I've got the structure of a podcast network that is all based around films and people that love this boutique side, I just found it natural. Chris and I are going to run it, and essentially, this first episode was these announcements that they just dropped. Pre-orders for those go live next Thursday, and so we wanted to get the excitement out there for these titles more than just let's post the titles on Facebook and then hope people care. And so we wanted to get this out in the world where they can hear some of the background stories, and so we did that. But of course, the excitement with Mono Macabro is they are a brand that's expertly curated. They have they have built up this trust with the fan base over literally decades at this point. And so they have this back catalog that is overwhelmingly great that a lot of people just have never seen. And so between announcements and like pickup videos, or not videos, but pickup episodes where we discuss these new titles as they come out, we're also going to be reviewing back catalog titles. So Chris and I are choosing a title for each other, and every month when we drop a new episode, we're going to be covering a couple of those, and then Jared is going to come on sometimes. Pete Toombs, as some people may have heard in that first episode, is going to be coming on for an interview here soon, and yeah, it's going to be great. There's so much happening behind the scenes for them. I'm excited for what they got coming next year, but as I said, there's a whole network of podcasts, so Mondo Macabro is not the only one. There's a lot going on.
We got to get you to send up your link tree for the video, so I can put it after we after this ends, so people can actually go in and check out all different podcasts and subscribe and check it out. For the longest time, the reason I mentioned Mondo was because it's the newest one, and because I think they've been that little company that's been on the verge for so long. I knew about them early because my dad is a massive fan of like this type of stuff. Paul Nashi. So they did a lot of Nashi.
Yep. Tons of them.
So there we go. Eric said you were getting too much sleep. So there you go. Another podcast is more. There's a lot of truth to that. Yes, Ryan has a show called Reconnected. Make sure you're checking it out every Thursday. He said Pete Toombs, is he coming? Is he on? Do you know when he's coming on? Is it next week or?
Pete Toombs is going to be on the Mondo Macabro podcast. Planet Mondo is the guest on Reconnected next Thursday.
Okay.
I don't think Pete wants to be on camera at the moment, but we'll get that eventually on my show.
No, aside from that, and we'll get into more of that too. You have like your regular YouTube show. You've got your production company. Let's hit the production side a bit. And then then I'm just going to let you take everything from there. I'm going to let you talk and let everybody know exactly what's going on, because there's so much that it's almost, I'm going to be honest, Ryan, it's almost overwhelming.
Overwhelming for you. I got to keep track of all this stuff.
So what can you talk about now that you're working on? Show people some of the releases that you've done.
Sure. The crazy part is all of this has happened in a very short period of time. I think it was the first week of September of 2023. We publicly announced that my collaborative partner, Will Dodson, and I were starting this company called Someone's Favorite Productions. And that all stems from a quote I use on my show all the time, which is every single movie has been someone's favorite movie. And a lot of people argue with me when I say that and think that it's cheesy, but at the same time,
True.
It's absolutely true. I mean, whether it's the director of that film for the 20 minutes that after he watched it for the first time, whether it's somebody that, has every single piece of merch related to that movie ever created, whatever, every single movie has been someone's favorite movie at some point in time. And so this whole all came about kind of because of Mondo Macabro, actually. Dr. Will Dodson, he was on this work trip that he had to be on, and he had a little bit of downtime. And so he Googled Mondo Macabro because he hadn't checked into them for some time, and found a video that I did on my channel with Jared from Mondo Macabro, and watched it, and he was like, this guy's great. And he reached out to me and basically invited himself onto my show to talk about Tobe Hooper. And because of that, we started doing an episode together of Reconnected every month. He's the guest on the first week of every single month now. And we just started, hanging out outside of YouTube stuff and talking and planning some things. And then, as it turns out, there was a boutique company that was sort of hinting that they needed somebody to do a special feature related to a certain topic on Twitter. And unbeknownst to each other, Will and I both responded to this label saying that we would love to do it if we could do it with our collaborative partner. We didn't know that we were volunteering each other for it. We didn't know that we were both doing it. And the label responded and said, oh, you both just did this, and responded at the same time, essentially. And they weren't planning on having a certain special feature on this release. And I hate talking cryptically, but all of this happened May of 2023. That release still has not been announced yet.
Oh, I was wondering actually.
Yeah, there's a lot of details about this first one that I can't say yet. But we ended up speaking with the label and sharing some of the information that we have. And it worked out where they were like, yeah, honestly, this is a great idea. Let's do this and put it on the disc. And that was the first thing. Following that, we started doing commentary for Terrorvision, because I had known Brad pretty well, and the first one that we recorded for Terrorvision was for the Nail Gun Massacre, and this release finally came out just a couple months ago, and it's a legendary release. I mean, there are
You know I
bonus
love that film.
features like exactly. There are bonus features all over this disc that are mind blowing. We got 5 new interviews. We have 2 new commentaries on this, new visual essays. We've got all of the old ported over extras. I'm immensely proud to be on this disc. Love this movie. But the crazy thing is, even after doing the commentary for this, Terrorvision asked me if I wanted to come on and produce some of their discs. So not only am I on the commentary, I did all of the interviews for this. I edited all the videos for the disc. I helped put this entire thing together. I still talk with Rocky Patterson from Nail Gun Massacre probably once a month. We just sort of hang out on the phone for a couple hours. It's been a crazy time, but that was the first one, and we recorded that last. We're coming up on the 1-year anniversary, actually. Like 5 days from now is the 1-year anniversary, and it's exploded from there. I've got this entire stack of stuff that's come out in this last year. And what's funny is how many that we've done that are not out yet. A lot of the stuff behind the scenes takes forever to happen. And so we've got stuff that we submitted literally last August that has not even been announced, let alone released yet. So it'll be some time.
Some of those take so much time, and it can be switched up. Whether they obviously there are new remasters found, or there's certain different like elements, or maybe there's
Absolutely.
another something else that can get in there, or extra feature. It blows my mind.
Yeah, it's been crazy.
I need to get Nail Gun Massacre. Actually, I'm getting that when I go to Paris. That's at my store.
It's worth it, I promise. And the 4K looks amazing. What's funny, that was the first one we recorded, but there were, I don't know, 5 or 8 discs that came out before that was even released. One of the big ones, I still can't believe that we were able to do this, but the first disc that I held in my hand with my name on it is the 4K release of Spider Labyrinth from Severin. And not only did we do a commentary for this, but we did a visual essay on the weird. And again, I'm immensely proud. The fact that my first extra is on a Severin disc, to have it come out, that was mind blowing for me. I never expected that.
It is so good to see you like with doing stuff with Terrorvision, doing stuff with Severin. I have not gotten a lot of Terrorvision yet because just it hasn't been around.
Right.
Sadly, because I moved to Morocco after they started. But Severin has been like my low key. People know this my favorite company.
Yep. Well, I'll say you'll have a lot of opportunities to get stuff from Severin with our name on it here soon.
I'm looking forward to that.
Terrorvision, though, that is the bulk of what we've done over this last year.
I know, and it's like you went strong in there. I'm very curious. There's the new one coming out. Was it Frogman?
Frogman, yeah.
Did you do anything for?
I helped produce some of the things behind the scenes, but I did not. None of our extras are on the disc.
That's when when I'm like, what is this film?
It's a modern found footage film that is a lot of fun. It's very for people. I know found footage is touchy for a lot of people. It's what's the best way to say this? It's very lore heavy. So there's like an actual really great deep story related to Frogman, and I think that you'll like it.
Yeah. I mean, like, because I was like, okay, what is this film? It's like their first especially put together one. Yeah, let's see those other ones that you worked on.
Let's see. So these are all just through Terrorvision. Some of our favorites. Well, honored like hell to be on the first Graveface release. This is River, and this is an incredible Asian film that came out that is dealing with time and time being odd, where it's sort of like a hellish Groundhog Day type of situation where 2 minutes just keeps repeating and you get reset to 2 minutes before where you were to the exact same situation. It's an amazing movie. The artwork on this release is insane. It is I love the gorgeous. Like I can't believe that we could do that. We did a visual essay on this, literally talking about the time travel aspects, and The writer and director have done multiple films related to that time aspect, so we really hit that hard. But yeah, stoked to be on that one. Will, my collaborative partner, is a giant fan of one Mr. Wynorski. So to be on
Right.
Papadopoulos,
We love this, by the way.
this was something that, you know, the fact that we could, in a sense, worship Jim Wynorski while also doing something very comedic. I'm so proud of what we did on this release. The Papadopoulos visual essay is my dear friend Will Dodson playing a character uh, where he is. This is so hilarious. He's in a wig, going by the name of Dr. Roderick von Bustier, basically like giving a uh, a, a a talk to a camera where he's stuck in like a smoker's lounge, and he is just telling you the virtues of Jim Wynorski, and it's hilarious through and through. It's respectful, it's funny, it's just a damn good time. And to be on something like this, that not only, you know, do you get the great release of Papadopoulos, there's the bonus feature that's on this as well. You've got the work print for this film that people have never got to see. The bonus features are overwhelming. I normally would not show all of them, but like, look at everything listed on this disc. And to be a part of what Terrorvision is doing with that, they are not holding back. I mean, if you are happening to be in the Terrorvision Discord, which Brad posts invite links for that all the time, just this week he posted a poll to ask people, hey, we have a film coming up where we have literally about 10 hours of behind the scenes features.
Wow.
Do you want us just to include everything on the disc, or should we go through and get like the best bits from this film behind the scenes making of, and put together like a pretty short documentary, or would you truly like to see everything? And everybody got to vote, and he's literally going with what the crowd wanted there. And so everybody's got, go ahead.
What one?
What one is everybody wants everything on the disc, and I think the main difference is he's going to put like chapter markers on there. That way, if you're stuck or you got to pause it because it's 10 hours long, obviously you can go back to where you were. It's going to be a lot. That release is going to be incredible. I just finished editing an essay for that release.
10 hours. That is insanely great.
10 hours. And when you find out what the film is, it is 10 hours, and this is going to be a funny word to use with Terrorvision. It is 10 of the most cute hours that you could possibly imagine.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
I was about to say something, then I started thinking about the film. What is that film? I'm trying to figure things in my head. It's like
right. Let's see what else is next. We are suddenly doing some pretty old school martial arts films like Game of Killers and
I've
an
been
old
really
Kung Fu Master.
That,
and they're super great. Very fun movies. They like Game of Killers features the Pink Panther theme song because they just did not give a flying when they were making some of these movies. But I was able to team up with a good friend of mine, Sean, over from the Food for Thought podcast, and we did a couple really great, very like historical educational pieces on some of the main stars on these. So for Game of Killers, as you can see, the list of extras is not nearly as great on this release like the other one, because there's nothing out there about this film. Nobody has records. There's not a lot of people that have been watching these for years. And so we did this long, like 12 or 13 minute piece on Barry Chan, who is somebody that has infiltrated a lot of films that we know and that a lot of us grew up on, but we just never knew a lot about him. And he's still out there working. Like he's running an academy teaching people martial arts right now. So not only do you get an updated interview with Barry Chan, you get a piece on his history. I love that we did that. And then on Old Kung Fu Master, we did the exact same thing. This one, again, I don't think there's literally nothing on this except for our visual essay, which is the history of Cecilia Wong. And it's an incredibly respectful piece of somebody that had a major effect on tons and tons of film. People are going to recognize her from everywhere. And so we went through her history, talking about her background, talk about some of the adversities that she faced. It's an incredible piece, and I really hope people take the time to watch it because it gives so much more context to the time that they made the film, why they made the film, why she's in it, and why she's an important part of history.
I mean, that's the type of stuff you want to see as a film nerd, and which I am, definitely am. That's the type of stuff that I want to see. Stuff that kind of like illuminates on stuff that I may know a little bit about, or just stuff that I'm intrigued, but or stuff I know nothing about,
Right.
and just to see it kind of get my interest there. It's really neat. I did not expect when they announced the first martial arts film from Terrorvision. I didn't expect it. I know I have like Malcolm on here a bit, and he's a massive martial arts like Asian cinema fan,
Yeah.
and he's one of the $1,000 like subscribers of Terrorvision, and he was like super stoked when that got announced. And so we're a bunch of people, especially because it was something different. And it seems like right now we got Pixie in the background. Let's photo buying me. It seems like we're starting to get, because I was like, okay, we get a lot of shot and video stuff. What are we going to get? That's a little bit different.
Right.
And we're starting to see like some different stuff come out, some really unique stuff. And I want to see.
There's a lot more than people expect that is going to blow some minds coming up.
Well, I remember the very first time they did their announcement. I think it was Brad and guys, and so they were talking about some of the stuff that they had, and obviously stuff that was going to take a while to get it. And it was announcement after announcement after announcement, and I think it was like 20 or odd films, and I was like, this is I kind of expected it because the thing is it's Brad, and Brad is one of those guys that when he was was speaking to people. So you make those connections. So
Yep.
you guys are kind of similar. That way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're both very heavy on networking and just kind of making friends of everybody, and that's the thing. Like this industry is not big. I know a lot of people look at it as this behemoth, but most everybody knows everybody behind the scenes, and so if you are, I mean, not to be like crude about it, but if you're a dick to somebody, that's not going to get kept secret. Like people are going to know pretty quickly. So
Very
a
quickly.
lot of the people behind the scenes are just nice, and it's great. I mean, I've had the pleasure in the last month and a half to meet a handful of people that I've worked with, like Nathaniel Thompson and Howard S. Berger, and the guys at Deaf Crocodile, and a few others. And it's been amazing to see everybody's just kind of wonderful dudes, and it's great. I love it.
It's so great and so nice to see the companies like Deaf Crocodile, like just coming out there and kind of like forging their way. And it's so cool to see
Yeah.
that, like when people say, "Oh, there's no physical media," and like look at this, like the announcements this week. Severin's announcement for the amazing the second volume of the Hull Huntsby Hour set. It's
Yeah.
just this is the reason I collect. This is the
Same.
reason I like. I love this stuff. Um, it's because like it's this when I hear stuff like that, when I hear these films and these films that I don't know, these films that I love, uh, truly, and to see you working on this stuff, to see someone that has a passion for it, which is that's a big caveat here, is you can tell when you're watching a movie
Yeah.
and you're watching a feature, you're watching something afterwards, when they like it or they just it's a okay, we'll just put whatever on here type thing, or we don't really care as much about this film. I remember I was watching a featurette on Vinegar Syndrome, and it was I think it might have been for a cutting class, and I was like, oh, Jill Scholl interview, like, oh, I really love this movie, and I'm so glad, I just thought that the killer should have been the other person, and she goes and she's talking about it, and she's like, I really hated this movie. And it was so heartbreaking.
That happens.
But I know it's and that's got to be great when you start to meet like the people that that you were listening to, that you're watching the stuff of, like when you get to meet
Yeah.
Nathaniel, when you get to meet Howard, it's got to be amazing. As
It
a
is.
guy, I still, for me, it's still a geek out spot for stuff like that. As I slowly kind of like whenever I talk to somebody new, it's just I become the film geek again.
Yeah, it's been a big deal because, the Thursday live shows that I do, I've tried to get as many of these people on that contribute to discs because they have, they have a persona for interviews. And so when I have Nathaniel Thompson on to talk for an hour and a half about his work and his contributions, that's one thing. But when you get him to sit down and respond to, I don't know, like, we all love Kino Lorber. They're great at what they do, but let's be honest, Kino Lorber puts out 250 movies a year, and a lot of them are not great. And Nathaniel Thompson has seen most of them throughout his life because of what he does. And so you get him, sort of off the cuff, you saying, "Oh, they're putting this out. I didn't even hear about that. I wonder why they're putting this out." And you get to hear some insight into stuff that he's thought throughout the years. It's a different thing. They let their guard down, and then after we do the announcements and we have that film discussion, because he's comfortable now, he's had that last hour to sort of sit in what we've been talking about and feel, hey, this is somebody that we're just chatting, we're just friends. Yeah, there might be 100 people watching, but we're just hanging out. And then when we have this film discussion, he's much more open, he's much more passionate, he lets a lot of that come through. But the difference there is stark, because in an interview, you almost don't want to come across as this extra passionate person because it can turn some people off. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's great.
Speaking of that, like the other passion aspect of it, what like doing all this stuff, doing all these different genres, doing working with all these different companies, and I know your passion for physical media is huge. Uh, is there something? Is there a genre? Is there like a film? Is there something you really that you really feel passionate, but that you wish got more notice?
I mean, there's literally hundreds. That's it's an impossible question to ask, because the reality is, I just mentioned one company that in 2023 put out 246 titles. That's not an exaggeration. They reported that in 2023, Kino Lorber released 246 titles. That's one of the last time I counted, there's about 150 active boutiques worldwide. One company's doing 250 titles, and sure, no one else is doing 250, but most of them are doing at least 20. That's about the average. And that is a ton of films. That is a ton of releases. And the reality is, none of us can watch all of those. There's not enough time in the day. But the hard part is, not only can we not watch the films, there are really important, really like award worthy features being put on all of these discs that most people will never give the time of day to. And so that's why, not that I can change it necessarily from the inside out, but being inspired by some of these films, that's why we wanted to do this production side, because there's a lot of these extras that are being done in a way that I don't truly agree with from some other companies. They're just kind of throwing people at a movie that they've never seen, that they really have no connection to, that they don't even talk with their editor. They basically just record an essay with their vocals and send that into the company, and then they put some visuals over it. I do all of our visuals myself. And so through our visual essays, I really think we're trying to not necessarily up the game, but really kind of change the game, because we've got the essay that we're telling through this spoken word. The visuals are telling a story right alongside it. And in a lot of these visual essays, you don't get that. You get a lot of people just sort of needing to put something on the screen. And so they throw it up there. I'm not about that.
See, I didn't. I had assumed that if somebody did a visual essay, that they would have to do the entirety of it. Like, so that is a bit eye opening, actually.
Yeah. A lot of these labels, they have in-house editors, or the people that cut trailers for them. They'll just say, "Hey, can you put this visual essay over a bunch of well thought out visuals from the film," or something like that. And it's basically just like a mixtape. It's not even something that's relevant to what's being spoken about. Now, I'm not saying all companies. There are a lot that do some really great things. One I definitely want to shout out right now that we haven't worked with yet is Radiance. Radiance has been putting out consistently some of the better visual essays over this last year that are not only like in tune with the visuals, and clearly the editor and the writer is working together, but they are some of the most densely educational extras that I've literally ever witnessed. And I hold myself to that standard. They're incredible.
They've hit that and like got that name so quick. Like Radiance
Yep.
just became this like powerhouse
Yep.
of, and the fact that, and I love this, that they're putting out not what you expect.
Yep.
And I think that's, for me, you get to that point, right, where you watched and you've seen so much that you're just hoping for something that you haven't seen, or something that can surprise you, something that's different. And it's nice to see companies that actually do that.
Right.
Like, you get that from Terrorvision a lot. You get that from Radiance. We're getting this. I think we're getting it from Severin, and I think Vincent's doing a pretty. How are you with Vincent? How do you find him? Vinegar Syndrome. Are you still a subscriber?
I am still a subscriber at the moment. I don't know that that will continue into next year, but that's less because of their quality and more just because my focus has been elsewhere. In all reality, I respect and like a lot of what Vinegar Syndrome themselves do. My approach to Vinegar Syndrome lately is more an eye on OCN and all of the partner labels. I think they are putting out some of the best films compared to any boutiques. And that's hard to say they, because it's literally, I think they're up to like 26 or 27 companies
Yeah,
that are partners
keep
with
changing.
them. And so it's very vague to say they're putting out the best films, but all of these partner labels that are working as their own company, they are acquiring the films, they're doing extras, they're producing the discs. It is amazing to see, and we've had the wonderful honor to get on a couple of those discs. Even we've been on some Deaf Crocodile discs. They're no longer a partner label, but we first started working with them there. We've been on a Saturn's Core disc. We are talking to some others that we're hopefully going to be on here soon, and they are, I mean, they're touching pretty much everything out there. They're hitting international fare. They're hitting brand new festival work. They're hitting classics that we never thought were going to get HD releases in the States. They're doing a hell of a lot.
You gotta ask a good question. I'm actually going to put this one up here. Um, are there simple mistakes or traps people make that you avoid when working on release extras?
Um, I mean, the biggest thing, I think not enough companies go through the process of like research verification. And so setting up what we've done as a production company, me and Will, we collaborate on writing the essay together a lot. Will does most of the writing, and then I come in and help with some of it. And then not only do we have that checked, we have someone else take a look at it to make sure our facts are straight. We make sure that the label takes a look at QCing it, and not just for quality, for actual accuracy in what we're putting out there. There's quite a bit that I don't want to say people just spew bad information, but there's some people that they don't fact check quite everything. And so we're doing our best to not fall into that trap. It's kind of easy on some of these because they're so obscure. I mean, we did the Spider Labyrinth is the perfect one to talk about here. There was nothing English language research wise for Spider Labyrinth. We started from scratch to go all the way to the very bottom. And so our commentary for that, for a lot of people, is going to feel maybe a little surface level, but it's pretty analytical when you break it apart, because there was literally nothing there. We are the first people in English language to get something on the record on a physical release for this. There's no like really good educational writing on Spider Labyrinth. There was nothing out there that went into depth on all of the people that collaborated on the film. It was a lot to be able to get that in, and that's why our visual essay itself was more on the genre of the weird, which is what people throw Spider Labyrinth in, because it's quite different to focus on than what we talked about in the commentary. Even though we do refer to the weird quite a bit, because it's hard not to. That movie is weird.
It's just have to go from like the base, and like with like not. It's so hard when there's like
It is
that little bit of information, or that, you're lucky if you get like the one or two, maybe like a
right.
short essay, or like an interview here or there. But when you got like nothing to work with, that is, yeah, you're a better man. when it comes to- I mean, that's who your favorite commentary track contributor is.
Oh man, I mean, you listed some of the great ones there. Arna Venema and Mike Leader are two friends of mine that I mean, I just well, it's been announced now. I can actually talk about it. I hired them to work on an Unearthed Films release that's coming out here soon, and that's the first time they've ever worked with them. And I read what the film was, and I was like, well, hold on, these guys are two of my favorites. I think they're going to be perfect for it. We've been talking to Sam Deegan the last 2 weeks. She is incredible at what she does. It really depends on the film. Just to say who is your favorite, I think doesn't work like that, because I mean, I could throw Kat Ellinger on a film from Hong Kong and she'll do all right, but she's not going to be the best at a Hong Kong film. I could throw Mike Leader and Arna Venema at a a Czech art house film, and they're going to do okay, but it's not going to be the same vibe. And so it really depends on the film itself. I love Sam Deegan, love Mike and Arna. Overall, like, the ones that I think are my favorite because I learned so much might be Frank Jang. I know that he is great at what he does. Had the honor of hiring him for a commentary recently for Terrorvision. That's going to get announced and blow some people's minds that we got a Frank Jang commentary on one of our releases, and I can't wait. It's an incredible movie, and people are going to be stoked to have him speak on it. It's absolutely worth it.
Moving from like shortly from there, you do a magazine,
I do.
and yeah, and it just started like as a passion project type thing that you did, and it's really blown up. Like we're seeing it in we're seeing it in shops now. I'm seeing like different companies with like grinder stuff, like show them like actual physical media advocate.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you have any nearby, but
I have one of every issue right here. So yeah, these started basically as a bonus for my Patreon, and the first one was June of 2023, and it was 6 pages. It was a 6-page newsletter, and actually that first one you can find in our release here that has the first 3 issues all banked into one, and it was something that I got inspired by somebody else talking about wanting magazine type ways to keep track of things, and so I started doing it digitally, and basically it was like a list of release dates, it was a list of like top 5 list, it was a list of some of the bigger news articles from the last month of physical media, and I just kind of compiled everything in there, wrote some stuff myself, and following that, I had people who were like, oh, this is great, here's something I wrote that you could put in there if you want. Literally, I never solicited. They were just like, hey, I just wrote this, and I thought it'd be great in your magazine.
and it's
Okay.
grown so much.
And some of those first ones, though, are not just like small names. Like, one of the first ones that gave me something unsolicited was Fran Simeone, the owner of Radiance. He wrote up a top 5 list and just was super passionate about films and was like, let's throw this in your magazine. I think this would be great. And it was amazing, and that encouraged and inspired others to start doing the same. And now we've put out that was the first 3. This is 4 and 5, and the only reason these are grouped together is because these, as we were growing, they're a little small for the print on demand type things, but then it got big. This is our 6th issue, and this is like 30 pages, something like that, and every single issue since then has continued to get bigger and bigger. This is number 7. The one that got a lot of people excited was our number 8 here with the Tenacious D artwork, and I am so stoked to look at what we got coming in the future. I have writers that are coming to me with stuff, and this issue was the one that made people get the most excited. This is a Roger Corman tribute issue for right after he passed, and the first one was 6 pages. This one 54 pages in less than a year. And it's for anybody that's never seen these, it is full of, we got a real table of contents, we've got articles, we've got really great graphics. There's also a tribute to Lee Gambin there, a contributor was a friend of mine that passed this year. We've got crossword puzzles, we've got word searches, we've got recommendations, we've got interviews with people from some of these films and boutiques. We've got exclusive interviews. The newest issue, the one that just came out at the beginning of August, is issue 11, and we have an exclusive interview with Amelia Kincaid in this from Night of the Demons. Like, this is issue 11 of a DIY sitting at home putting together a magazine that I am like still confused how this even exists. And I have 11 issues, and we're about to release our 12th issue in 8 days of this magazine that has exploded. And like you said, it's showing up in stores. I mean, this thing, you can go to Scarecrow Video right now in Seattle, Washington, and buy the Physical Media Advocate. And I've loved them for years, and I've never been able to go. I just respect what they do, and they sell the magazine, and that's amazing to me. But the cool thing here, and I know this will make you happy, I saved an exclusive here for you. I've not posted this announcement anywhere. The newest issue, issue number 11, is available internationally in a store for the first time ever in your wonderful country of Canada at
Oh, really?
Rough Cut Video in Alberta. I am amazed that this is happening.
It is insanely incredible, dude.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you, man.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's wild that it's come together, and I'm stoked beyond that.
There's so much happening. I don't know how you get a chance to think two things like eat, sleep, with your family.
Yeah, I'm still raising 2 kids. That's the other thing, and I have a day job. I work for the government full time, so this is literally just in my hobby time.
Dude, just
yeah.
I don't know if you can say that. So you're asking if somebody asked you if there was any blockbusters or announcements from Terrorvision. I don't know if you can. If you can say.
I can say that Frogman is not their big fall release. It is their first deluxe release, and there will be more where that came from. And there are titles that I think will excite people more than Frogman, even though Frogman is a pretty incredible release. I think there's some titles that are going to make people very happy coming this year.
For you, put you on the spot. When it comes to Terrorvision, for instance,
Yes.
if you were to say your top 3 releases that you think that they put out so far for you.
Ooh. All right. I mean, selfishly, I'm going to go with Nail Gun Massacre. Definitely has to be one of those 3. I'm going to throw out Slashers. That's one I did nothing for other than it was about to be released when I came on. So I helped with some cover art and copy editing. I think that movie is insanely fun, and not enough people talk about that.
Incredibly underrated film, by the way.
It is so good, and the fact that we've got multiple cuts on there, it's a wonderful, wonderful release. Gosh, top 3. I'm gonna throw out there probably Dreamstalker, maybe, just because I love that damn movie, and that's one I didn't even share, but we are on this disc as well, and this movie is so fun and silly, and we did a visual essay on this with Erica and Lance from the Unsung Horrors podcast, and I did the visuals for it, and I think it's a lot of fun. I think the movie itself is great, and a lot of people were sort of off-put to purchase it because it was on a Severin DVD years ago, or Intervision, but Severin. And the picture quality is much, much better. And people need to understand they can improve a lot.
Intervision, DVD days.
Yep. Yeah, it is much improved. Love that movie. I got a lot of fun with it.
Hopping around.
Yeah.
How many podcasts are you doing?
Actively, I am on the Disconnected podcast, the Wild Side, the official Mono Macabro podcast. In May, I launched a podcast called Film Foundations, where every episode we answer 4 questions about either a actor, director, franchise, or a micro genre of film. And so we talk about what is the best entry point for that, what's one that's not a great entry point but people will love if they get into it a little bit, what is the biggest pop cultural impact from that, and then finally what is a gateway to that. If people like X, then they would like this thing that we talked about today. And we bring on guests for that every other episode, and we do it, myself and my other co-host Chris Stashew. We do every other episode, just the 2 of us, and it's been hell of a lot of fun, very eye-opening. So we got those. I think that's all that is public that I do right now. I guess technically I produce the Terrorvision podcast for them as well, and then I'm in all of those episodes when we do them. Beyond that, eagle-eyed viewers who have gone to the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network link tree, they have found that there's another podcast listed that has not been announced formally yet that will be coming out with its first episode next week. So if you want to see what new podcast might be starting, there's all the nuggets you need to go discover it.
You asked a question here on what are your thoughts on Visual Vengeance?
I don't love all their films, but I do love the way that they're producing discs. I love that they put on every extra, like, under the sun that you could possibly want on that film. The other big thing, I like that they are putting what's the best way to say this without sounding condescending? I know a lot of people hate, like, the trinkets that come with a lot of these releases. So things like the art cards or the posters or stickers or Severin releasing tea infusers and everything else. All of that is great for some people, and a lot of other people hate it. I love Visual Vengeance's because it fits in the case. And so it doesn't take up any additional space. And if there's something in that release that I love, I can leave it in the case or I can take it out and use it. And they've been great. But the biggest thing that I love about Visual Vengeance, their price point. Every single one that they've released is coming out at like $22 and then going on sale for $17. That can't be argued with. That is pretty amazing.
That has to be pretty, that is actually fairly fantastic when it comes to, especially at a time when it is so hard. Like everything seems to be, well, prices get higher.
Yeah.
And one of the constant things on the channel is like, okay, things are so expensive. We're like, well, things aren't the same as they were 5 or 10 years ago. Things get more expensive to do.
It's a lot. And a lot of people don't understand the costs that go into so much of the behind the scenes things. And that's why I don't, not to toot my own horn or anything, but like the Disconnected podcast, when I do these interviews, I've tried to eke out some of that information from a lot of these people, find out how much restorations cost for certain films, find out, how much is the label paying for a slipcover, and then how much of that goes on to the consumer. Why have costs gone up in the last 2 years? Why are we making choices to release something for $50? Why are a couple years ago, when you and I were originally talking about Vinegar Syndrome, a brand new release with a slipcover was $17, and now they start at $25. That's a huge difference.
It is
huge difference.
And for people coming in right now, it's more daunting, which is a shame, because both of us, aside from we've got Patch look behind us, right? We collect movies. Actually, I'd ask a question here with that. Somebody large collection of Ryan's around 10,000 or so. Yeah, I guess. So now how you guys practically manage all that in space and organization? So sub 1,500 and have a challenge. Actually, that is an actual thing. I put it like this way: that there's an evolution that you go through, and you started as you buy a movie, for instance. You go to Walmart, you see something you like, you buy it. And you casually start picking up things every once in a while. Then you get it really excited. Then you're picking up everything, and like you hit this like collector territory, but you're not yet don't yet know exactly what you really like. Then you start to find, okay, I like this. This interests me. I want to know more about this. And then you hit like curation, which is your final evolution. If you want to go Pokemon level, for me, I don't know about Ryan, but for me, space, it definitely is more of an issue now than it used to be. And I have 2 homes. This is my condo here, and I have we've got a farm area as well, which is massive. But and still with that, I have things that I have to had put away. So when people put out releases now, and they're more, some people would like get upset when like Indicator separate those like streamlined, and I was like, thank God I can save a little bit of space, because my Indicator like collection took up so much space on the shelf. So it's, how about you? How do you find like because it's got to be even more for you, because like I know I get some things come like when I review certain things, and I'll get like offered like, and I've gotten to the point where like I'm really very careful with what I review, because I keep everything, and I'm concerned that of having too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How do you find it space-wise for you?
I find it daunting. What is behind me on all of my streams is clean. The rest of the room is not. I know where everything is, but I literally have a giant cardboard box here that new arrivals go in until I can build more shelves, because I have no more space for boutiques. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.5 piles of releases stacked on this desk around me that I've been using for certain things recently. I have a window in this room that is covered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, with 10 different stacks of physical media that are all alphabetized and organized, so I know where they are, but it's blocking my window literally. It's crazy. I mean, you can see over my shoulder, all of my shelves are shelved above it where they shouldn't be. I hate that it's like that. If I had it in me, I would put it in another room. Unfortunately, real estate is the most expensive commodity, and so uh, I live in the Midwest. I know that I'm very privileged to be able to live in Kansas City, Missouri, where I have a room here that I have dedicated fully to my collection. I have nothing else in any other rooms in my house. I've got 2 kids and a wife that would either knock them over because my kids are insane, or my wife would be upset because there's a copy of Lizard in a Woman's Skin next to our cereal. Who knows? But they are all located in this room, and once this room got full, the room is full, and I still need it to be usable because of everything I do in here. So it's a never-ending fight, that's for sure.
I mean, it's like, but who doesn't want a copy of Lizard's Woman's Skin, but next to
Exactly, and sometimes even more.
um, we're getting so many good questions and stuff there. People are asking the main audience for films. That's really hard to say. I think it's changing. I think it's shifting. I know a lot of the type of stuff that we talk about, especially I work a lot. I talk a lot about different films, and initially my channel talked a lot about exploitation and horror and slasher, and it's kind of branched out a lot from there since then. But yeah, there's a large male audience, but there is a large female audience as well, and I'm seeing more and more YouTubers actually come out and that actually are female, they're younger, they're smart. Look at some of the biggest names like Amanda Reyes out there, Kat Ellinger, Sam Deegan, just incredible minds when it comes to cinema. And so yeah, it's not just guys.
It's not, and actually, I'll expand on that slightly if I can, because the answer is much simpler than that. Every filmmaker and every one of these labels want everybody to watch these films, want everybody to purchase these films. They are not marketing towards any individual gender or mindset or age range. It is absolutely just, we like these and we think everyone else will too. So they put it out there.
Yeah, nobody wants
really
to
that
sell
easy.
less films.
Exactly.
If you do, then that's we don't stay around as long. Anything you can talk about? Anything that you're excited about that you're working on?
There's a lot. I've talked about a lot of the features that we've done in the past, but literally right now, I think we have. Oh, we're approaching. This is going to sound like a lot, and I'm not trying to brag or anything like that. We have at the moment somewhere around 40 to 45 titles that we are working on right this moment for bonus features. It is a stupid number of movies. I get that, but the big thing is, I don't do all of those features. It is a production company where we are collaborating, and so we have a meeting next Tuesday with a group of people that we have working on a giant release that is a huge number of those titles that we're all talking about what we're going to be doing and how we're going to go about it and next steps and all of that fun stuff. So it's a lot.
Have you worked on any films that you can't talk about? Because I'm not going to put back in corner that for you are dream projects that you're like, oh, I can't believe I'm working on this film.
There are a couple that have not been announced yet that are from filmmakers that I can say that about. That I'm honored to genuinely be doing anything for that filmmaker. That is probably the closest I've gotten to on that point.
Because when you said you did Nail Gun Massacre, which I actually, do you remember this?
Oh yeah,
At a video podcast on my channel called the Buck 98, I think 98 special, which is from Nail Gun Massacre. Because it's my favorite scene in the entire movie.
It's hilarious, yeah.
Because they have this big sign with this special, and it says exactly what's on the special. He orders it, they deliver it, and it's completely different. That's on this big sign right behind them, which is fantastic. So that definitely would have been a dream. in my that would have been a dream of my life. Next
Yeah.
time, dude, you get something with Nail Gun Mask. Oh
I
god.
I mean, not that I would be against it, but I kind of hope that nobody else does a Nail Gun Massacre release because there's really nothing else that can be done for this film.
It's a definitive release. We don't need another
It
release
is.
at
Yeah.
this point. There's so much other good stuff to
Well, that
bring.
being said, I know a lot of people complain about this. It's a large world. There's a US release. There's not a UK release. There's not a German release. There's not an Australian release. There's not an Italian release. There's not a French release. There's not a Japanese release. There are lots of other places that could get a 4K disc out there that is from all of the special features that Terrorvision did. But territory rights are an absolute thing. And so there are a lot of people that complain, why are we getting another release of this when my favorite movie has never been released? Because that's not how it works. The Terrorvision has the rights to release it in the States. They're not selling it in Australia.
I think I got to be like, uh, where I went to Paris, and it was really cool to see television titles, and like they just started showing up at Metaluna,
Nice.
which is the big company, but big. It's a little store, but they carry all the boutique labels. They've had like
Yeah.
the exclusives, and I've spoken to the guy over there, Bruno, and it's just when you walk in there, like it's, oh, dude, it's like just it's Christmas. It's a
Yep.
Christmas type store for me. So I'm looking forward to going back there because Nail Gun Massacre is on that list of movies that I need to get.
Right.
And there's so much. There's so much. That's the killer part. There is so much.
Yeah.
For you, like as a when you're aside from like from the stuff that you work on, when you're as a collector, as curator of like cinema, um, you find it hard now to decide. Okay, there's you said like there's so much that came out from Kinalober, even like companies like Mondo, who which I think are one of the more realistic companies to be able to like actually collect their entirety of the releases because they put them out at a specific amount. Because Scream Factory, I started like collecting all the Scream Factory releases,
Right.
and then they started like going up and up and up, and I'm like, okay, I can't grab everything. I have to
Right.
choose. I have to pick and choose. Is there anything that you look for when you're okay? Yeah, do you like, okay, I want to get this, or these are ones that I want. You have a list in your that you already have in your head, or do things come out like still kind of surprise you?
I mean, I'm surprised all the damn time at the quality of these films that are basically forgotten still. I find myself really trying to align with curators that I trust, and this is like a dire importance for people that are consuming physical media because it really is what delineates people that are collecting physical media and watching physical media and buying them because they want to own all of them, and so I mean, there's a difference. Like Mono Macabro, we've talked about them multiple times. I'll throw in Deaf Crocodile and Radiance are probably the three companies right now that I can say I trust their curation 100%. You'll notice I didn't even say Terrorvision there because there are movies that Terrorvision put out I don't love. But those three that I just named, I will own probably every single one of their releases at some point because they've either literally never had a miss where I've not liked the movie, or I didn't find some value in owning the film that I purchased that I didn't love. And there are very few of that second category there. And so finding people that you can trust the films that they're putting out because of how they're choosing them, because of their passion for them, because your taste is identical to them, that's one of the most important parts of this. But to find that, you literally got to be taken off the plastic and watching them. And for a lot of people, that is a very difficult barrier to get past. And I got nothing against it. If you buy physical media to collect it, honestly, it's still a thing that's important. We still need people like that supporting this. We still need people to advocate for it. That's why the magazine is called the Physical Media Advocate. And all of those aspects create what overall is the industry. But I mean, for me, I wouldn't be buying these if there weren't discs inside with great content on them.
When I was in Canada, I had so much plastic wrap all over the place because I was constantly buying stuff, and I'm not one of these people that can keep things wrapped up at all. So it is like I get it, and I got to look inside. I'm like, it's like Christmas. The wrapping comes on.
Yeah.
I take it out. I check to see if there's if I can switch the cover around. I'm looking at if there's anything inside. I'm one of the guys, well, you mentioned earlier, that likes those bonuses, that extra swag stuff. That's probably why I kind of get so much. I've got a T-shirt collection,
I do
and
too, yeah.
yeah, it's insane. It gets up there after all. I didn't realize how it was. So we have the maid comes in on Mondays and Fridays, and I went upstairs to get a shirt, and it was right after we moved in, and I'm looking at like this rows of t-shirts, and I'm like, okay, I may have an issue.
Just this week, my wife said, "Should I just go use the closet in the other room, and you can just have this whole closet because of all your shirts?" I went, "No, no, I think you can stay."
It is true. It's a mentality that we get, and but it's a love for this type of stuff. There's a reason that like you get like Fright Rags put out those like black mystery surprise things, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh, I shouldn't, but it's only
But
five or
also,
$8. But
I mean, that's also where new voices in this industry helps a lot. And one of the things I'm working on right now with some of these companies is to kind of change the way that we're doing these swag items. And I'm advocating for more like useful items. If you were a Radiance Film subscriber for their first year, one of the items they sent you was a notebook, and it was Radiance branded on the front, and it was just a notebook that you could write in. That is so much more useful to me than 25 art cards over the span of 5 releases. I'm never going to go and frame my art cards, but the notebook, I've already written about a third of the way through the notebook. That's so much more useful. So yeah, looking to find new ways to change some of that behind the scenes too.
so now when it comes to like when you're doing like features and stuff like that, would you like that like more branching out into more like the different stuff like the useful, quote unquote swag or different items as well?
Oh yeah, we've already had a hand in quite a lot of that. We're working on a lot of that with many of these companies. Yeah.
And that you can talk about, or just these are all still in?
They're most of the bigger ones are still in production because of what they mean, but I know that there's at least one company that's talking about instead of doing shirts, doing sweatpants soon, which it's a change. Like we don't need 500 shirts. There's other garments we all wear. I would
Totally
love
have.
to have, I mean, I don't know, Third Window Films is never going to do this, so I'll just say I would love to have a pair of sweats with Third Window Films running down the leg to advertise it that way. I would much rather have that than another shirt. I got to be honest.
There's a reason that the Vinegar Syndrome's dinosaur pajamas did so well.
Because people buy everything from Vinegar Syndrome. That's why.
Oh, come on. No, I miss it on the pajamas. It's one of those like whales of mine. Thank you.
At
But
least
no,
you
I
had
like
the
the idea.
opportunity. I was always too tall for them.
See, I like the idea of the sweatpants. I like the idea of
Yep.
like of having some different stuff, especially stuff where you like me, like where a lot of time is spent around a computer, like
Yeah.
working or editing something. So yeah, comfortable clothing, really good to have.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I like the fact that Dev Crocodile is starting to come out there with. How do you feel about the subscription base? Like we've seen a lot more companies start to do this. Vinegar Syndrome does it. We got Terrorvision that's doing it. Dev Crocodile is doing their own subscription service. Radiance has a subscription service as well. Do you think this is like the future, or this works for some companies, but just for some companies?
It's definitely only some companies, but I certainly think more people are going to potentially try it out. Some other ones that have had them film treasures on the UK. Just
Yeah,
had one for this year as well. Shout out to one of the longest running ones, Oscilloscope. Maybe the best subscription out there. I've never worked with them, but I gotta say, $140 in the US. I know it's different for international, but if you're in the US, $140, you get their next 10 Blu-ray releases. That's an incredible
incredible.
price. That's amazing. I love Oscilloscope. More people need to talk about them, but I think they're great. But the big thing, it's a it's a ton of money, and if you don't trust curation from that company, there's honestly no reason for you to do it because you got to be able to pick and choose and save money and not get yourself into a bad situation. There's a lot of things that I mean, not to sound like like this is a movement or anything, but there is a bit of an honor to it. I mean, you're literally helping support film preservation and archiving properly some of the most like classic films of all time. So there is a lot to say about that. I mean, Vinegar Syndrome, we've never heard their actual number of subscribers, but just based on how if you go look at how many their stock is in stock the day it goes live, they've already subtracted like 2,500 from that stock, which means I don't think they have 2,500 subs, but a lot of those are going to retailers. So even if they have 1,000, last year the subscription was just over $900 in the US, slightly more than that, like 940, which means every year in that first week when they get everybody to sign up, right there, you have $940 times 1,000 subscribers. That's easy math. $940,000 to start the year off. That pays probably for all of their licensing for the entire year and then some. They have a very expensive archive to support. They have a very expensive restoration process. It's a hell of a lot of money, but they're literally getting that infusion of cash to ensure that they can do it. It's a big deal.
It's massive, and it's nice to see that like other companies have been able to do it. Hopefully, to different varying levels of success. I think Radiance is really starting to gain that the level of trust. I like to call it Criterion trust.
Yep.
Because people that buy Criterion. Like if they haven't seen it, doesn't matter. Like it's a safe blind buy for them. And I think that Radiance has that. Like you just said earlier on, like for you, they have that. There's that safe, you might not have seen it, but you'll buy it because you know that it's going to align with your taste. It's going to align with what you like.
I will still say, hands down, most like bang for your buck subscription out there, other than Oscilloscope. I know that I do some production work for them, but Terrorvision subscription is mind-blowingly good. The fact that you can subscribe at just 10 films and be able to go in and pick anything out that they've ever released that they still have in stock and get it at a discount at any time, that's crazy. You can choose where your subscription starts. You can choose essentially where it ends. Like if they're releasing 4 films and you only have 2 slots left, you can choose which 2 films you get. It is so much value for the amount of money that you put into it. And if you spend more, you're getting all of them, free shipping. Like it is an absolute crazy service that they're doing with these subscriptions because it's a lot of risk for everybody involved, for sure.
With Terrorvision now, how many films have we? Oh God, I'm trying to think how many have they released at this because it's been a few. Like they've put out.
I think the hard part is, we assign things spine numbers internally, and something will get delayed, or we'll find something else, and so you'll bypass that spine number and come back to it later. I think we're up to like 45 or 50, maybe a little bit more, something like that.
You know what you need to do, and this comes from my comic book background, and I thought it was genius. So everything had like labels on like volume 1, volume 2, stuff like that. So Marvel started to put out this line called the Epic Collection. You probably have some. And the way they do it is there's no number on the spine of the book, but there's a number on the back of the book.
Yep.
With like a little bit of information and the year, what works with it, which I think would be genius. But I'm still waiting for a company to go with that, like to actually put the number on the back so that you can put out things. Things can get shifted around. You get a 1 and a 3, and the 2 and 4 are coming because you got the other ones there, and it's not just there where you feel like, oh, this is like those spots. When are those spots going to be filled in? Anyway, just something. It's a free thing that if you speak to a company, it's not a bad idea. Actually, I love the number on the back thing, and it leads to a different type of collectability. Because you still want to have the numbers, and it can fit in different ways. So you can bring out, say I'm bringing out number 1. Say you decide I'm doing this label, or I'm doing this sub label, and I'm looking at these different. I'm doing like these martial arts films. These are going to go together, and then there's going to be these Asian horror, and there's going to be drama or whatnot, and that you're going to put out a martial arts, you're going to put out a horror, and you're going to put out like 2 dramas. And primarily what's coming out, so you're putting them together. See, this is why At
I
least,
will say I know at least one company that is working towards something similar to that.
oh, nice. There we go. Great minds. I love the fact that the person. I've one of my favorite labels that we haven't mentioned, and that is Fun City Editions.
Hmm.
Are you a fan? Have you?
I am not only a fan, a giant supporter in the way that I try to bring them up whenever possible, because a lot of people, as soon as they left OCN, they just sort of forgot they existed. They had a big first title after OCN in Party Girl. It did gangbusters for them. They promoted it everywhere. It sold a lot. It was a huge hit. And then they put out 5 or 6 great releases in a row that a lot of people did not know existed, and it's really sad because they keep doing great work, and now they're getting back out there with some bigger titles. I mean, they just announced today, literally as we're recording this, that the Phoebe Cates title that they just put up for pre-order, the slipcover, which is now all of their slipcovers are site exclusives, but they're doing Paradise, and the slipcover on Paradise is already sold out.
Oh, wow.
So it's hopefully they're coming back around and on people's radar. They're doing Heavenly Bodies. That's a big deal for them. They
Canadian.
Yep,
Love this movie.
it's a
Uh,
big deal. Yeah,
that the day that was announced, I let out a squeal. So I'm not gonna lie. That as for companies that I trust, Fun City Editions
they're up
is
there.
pretty much just across the board. And I'm a massive like proponent for like TV films. I think that
Same.
so many, and it's so nice now we're starting to see stuff come out from like from Via Vision and and like anytime I see a company that's actually preserving like these television films, because I grew up at
Right.
a time, I'm older, when these were like massive events, and you literally you stayed home.
Oh,
Everybody
I
talked.
remember. Yeah.
It's and I'm just it's so nice. Then I'll always like look at on Twitter, because it's Twitter. I'm called Twitter. Amanda Reyes, and she'll announce like, okay, there's something coming up, and it's good for TV, and I just that little fan guy inside me is like, yes, 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 and then the TV movie like announcement came out. Thankfully, Fun Editions did their second volume. Vinegar Syndrome, what's up? Televised Terror was volume one, by the way.
Yep. Yep.
Still waiting, uh, because I think that would be amazing to that's what I want to see. That's what I want more of in my collection, because there are so many that I think they just have horrible copies, or you'll find one on YouTube and it'll be like just barely watchable. I remember there was one, and I'd seen it when I was younger, and I wanted to see it again. It was like this babysitter that comes to work for this family, and what nowadays it's like a pretty standard story, but at the time it was like, it was big, it was good, and
Yeah.
I found it online, but I couldn't find a physical media copy of it, and still I don't think there's been one done, and I'm just waiting. Every time like a TV box set gets announced, I'm
Right.
waiting to see that release.
It's a big deal.
That they I get it. I get stoked about stuff like that. Is it like that's for me? That's like when I asked you the question about like different genres or different things that you want to see like put out there. For me, TV film is something that TV film, and also people will say, but like the kind of that softcore, that era of like that softcore exploitation, the whole Shannon Tweed, Shannon Worry
Yep.
aspect, and we get to see some of these come out from like MVD Visual, but it's where I thought when I started buying Vinegar Syndrome, I thought, okay, this is where we're going to go. We're going to get a lot of these films that I saw like in my 20s, just be preserved and saved, and I was
Right.
so excited, and that hasn't happened. So
I get
I'm
it. I
hoping
get it.
that there's a company that actually does say, okay, yeah, let's look at all of the body chemistry, or the night eyes, or the ones that friend of the family stuff to fall in between the cracks.
The hard
And
part, most of those, the negatives don't exist, and so the process of going through those is literally taking the edited tape and re-editing the film, and so it's a very expensive process. And worst is some of these, there is the tape doesn't even exist. And so you're looking at old masters like the MVD, DVD sets that they've been doing some of these double features, and they are cut to shreds. I mean, there's a couple of those in that second wave that are very heavily edited, that are not good. Like they took all of the you call it an erotic thriller. They took all of the eroticism out of it, and it's just like barely a thriller. And some of these, the only way to see them is if you have like an old Taiwanese laser disc is the only way to see it uncut, because it doesn't exist literally anywhere else. And that's mind blowing. It's crazy.
It's such a shame when you hear that. Like I remember, so I was reading an article on Serial at Midnight's like website at one point, and it was talking about the fact that Abominable, which to me was not an old film, that it almost got lost.
Yep.
And
Happens far
I
too
guess
often.
you see that all the time.
Oh yeah.
With certain releases, and when you're trying to put features together, when films are coming together, or films. Have you ever had a release that looked like it was coming, and you don't have to mention any names, obviously, because you can't, that just unfortunately it just fell through because like the elements weren't there, or
I mean, there's a handful actually, and I won't name names, but there are a couple. There's a big uproar in the entertainment field of things being canceled for tax reasons. That's happened in the boutique industry. There's been full releases behind the scenes that have just gone away because they wanted to write off. There's been people that have agreed to do these things, and then at the last second some random producer shows up and goes, no, I own that, and they can't even prove that they own that, but legally you have to go, well, shit, I got to go find what's going on here, and that might be held up for years. And if it's not worth the fight, they just, well, fine, we just can't do it. That stuff happens more often than you think.
that breaks my heart.
It's pretty rough. And unfortunately, a lot of people are just kind of jerks.
Bill Forsythe's great girl. Anything Bill Forsythe, Maddie, I am for. I love Bill Forsythe. That Sinking Feeling is such a good movie. I'm trying to give you the Columbo. Just the word Columbo.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. That was such an exciting. Do you remember that initial announcement?
Oh yeah, it was a big deal.
How excited we were. I did a video. I dressed up. I had a trench coat on. But yeah, the things that sometimes unfortunately, what happens is that you're just like, there's so many features that end up not being able to come out because the release doesn't come out, or because the features got taken off the release for various reasons.
Yep.
And sometimes you'll find commentaries randomly online for films that just couldn't put them out, and you're like, I just wish it was there. I just wish it was part of the release.
Yeah.
It's the heartbreaking part of all this.
And I mean, the reality is they just can't sell it. I still am holding out hope that everybody that created those, they like upload it to their own website or have a Patreon that they can release it on at some point. I mean, it would be great.
It would be fantastic, actually, because that I still, they worked hard on a lot of that stuff. I know people that worked hard on, and I guess we can say now, there was at one point a Nightmare on Elm Street from a company that we're working on Nightmare on Elm Street release, and that didn't go through in the earlier days. And I often wonder if those features got made, but you never know.
Yep, it's a big question mark, unfortunately.
Yeah, because those were the early, those were the salad days of my channel. when I'd be like, when you find out something, didn't you? This was when you're first starting this, and you find out something, and this has to be something you have to do all the time, and you're like, you keep your mouth shut for like a year and a half, but you're like, oh yeah, people are gonna be super stoked when they see this.
I mean, again, can't say anything, but there's a project right now that's in the works that likely, well, in fact, there's two projects that are in the works that neither one will be announced until at least like the middle of 2025. and I'm just brimming. There's so much I want to share with everybody. It's so dang exciting to be able to be doing anything for this. And I can't say a damn word, and it hurts. It just pains me. God, I hate it.
You go into your family are like, what are you excited to say?
Can't say.
Can't
Not
say
at
it.
all.
You'll know soon enough. But with all this, I want to thank you so much for coming on here tonight.
Of course.
And I did want to give you the mic, literally, to just talk about anything that you wanted to talk about, anything that you wanted to mention, because this is Restream and it does have a time limit on it. But I'm so grateful that you came in.
It's an honor to be here.
It's been way too long, and it has, because you're one of the first people. You're one of the first people. When I started my Patreon, I was super nervous, like, oh, I can't do this, and I spent like literally around 6 hours going back and forth with my better half, and so you're one of the first people that like I contacted on there, and it was just so nice to have this, like, we like a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah.
And we have, good for good or bad, we have the same type of, almost, I'm going to call it a workaholic drive.
Yes.
But I think it keeps us going.
Yeah, I don't think if I was doing all of this, I would be much, much less happy, guaranteed.
And it's good to see that, you started out like you're a fan, and you came on here because you love this stuff.
Yeah.
And you took this and turned that into, you took your passion and you turned it into like into a business, into an actual business, and not just doing it to put something. You put stuff back, and that's what's so important when whether you're doing this, guys, on YouTube, or you've got a podcast, or you're working on something, you're writing something, you're writing a book, whatever. Like, utilize your passion to push that forward. One of the greatest successes with this guy right here is that he did that. These were things that he didn't do it because, okay, I'm going to make money off of this. He did this because, okay, this
No.
is what this is a wrong thing to be doing to guys for that. But he's like, okay, this is what I wanted. This is my passion. This is what I love. And to bring his voice in there, and in doing so, brought so many other voices out there, whether it's on his Thursday show when he does Reconnected, and every Thursday, it's like clockwork. There's people in there, whether you're with your friend, or you've had so many amazing guests come on, and not incredible people from different companies, and just be able to hear what they have to say. And like a lot of things, by the way, guys, if you're watching Reconnected, sometimes some things get announced. Just saying. So be checking that out on Thursdays, to the podcast that you do, to the magazine that you put together. Like you said, went from 6 pages, like to 54 pages for the latest magazine. The one thing that I get asked all the time, oh, hey, I'm thinking about doing YouTube. What should I do it on? What are you interested in? What do you what do you like get excited? What do you talk to your friends about that you're super excited and super stoked about? What are you passionate about? Because this guy here, Ryan, has taken his passion and just started with his channel and his podcast, and it's just grown and grown and grown, and in such amazing ways. When I say, dude, I'm proud. I'm super proud. And I feel like, okay, I know him. I knew him when. It's one of those things, and it grows from there. So yeah, there's my blabbering, like, just admiration, which is true. I really do admire the work that you do.
I really appreciate it. It's been a lot of work, genuinely. Like we said, you don't do something like this for money. It has cost me more than it has made me. I genuinely lose money doing this every single month. I do it because I want to support other people around me and lift up those voices. And you say you want to hand off the microphone. So really the only thing I can say, surround yourself with positive people, and that stuff will come back to you if you're kind to them and they are invested in you the way that you're invested in them. And one of the ways that I do that is through a podcast network. And this thing, is lifted up some of the people that I admire most through all of this industry. And so literally going to name them all right now, and I hope people go out and check these shows out. Almost Major, an incredible show about not major studios, some of the minor studios and the films that they created. Criterion Close Up and Criterion Now. It's a podcast that has exploded, that's had people on like Sean Baker, Imogen Sarah Smith, some idiot named Ryan Verrill from The Disconnected. There's my shows, The Disconnected, the Film Foundations that we've talked about. The Force 5 podcast with Jason Kleberg is incredible. He had Joe Lynch on to talk about films that I absolutely adored that episode. The Imprint Cast, if you are a fan of imprint films out of Australia, there's a whole podcast dedicated to what they're doing. I used to run a podcast called the Incinerator Podcast that is no longer there, but it's still on the network. You can go listen to it. It's a bunch of like competitive people arguing with each other over the dumbest stuff related to movies. It's a hell of a fun time. There's the Indicator Cast. If you love Indicator, they have put out podcast episodes about a lot of the Indicator catalog. It's amazing. Another one that's on hiatus right now, Movie Mixtapes. A dear friend of mine, Billy Ray Bruton, sharing movie mixtapes with a lot of friends, and it's a lot of fun. It's just basically creating like a series of films related to a topic that go well together. It's a blast. The New World Pictures podcast, who happens to be in the chat today, one of the most entertaining groups of people that are super fun, that are talking about films that get overlooked for many reasons, but most of them are condescending reasons. Roger Corman was the master, and everything related to New World deserves more respect, and the New World Pictures podcast gives it in spades, and I adore those people. There's a new one launching next week. Like I said, you'll find it there in that list. We just added our newest podcast, the One Track Mind podcast with Ryan Luis Rodriguez. This is for people like me and Aaron that love the special features on these. And this podcast is dedicated to listening to an audio commentary and then discussing the commentary. Who else is doing that? It's an incredible show. Absolutely love that.
That's awesome.
Right. We've got Punk Vacation, the unofficial Vinegar Syndrome podcast. Chris is dedicating himself to getting all of the Vinegar Syndrome recitals and discussing them all by the next month. He is watching them all in a span of like 2.5 weeks so he can put out an episode. That is dedication. We have the official Radiance Films podcast on our network. It's amazing. You should go check it out. Adam does incredible work. The Terrorvision Home Video podcast. More podcasts are coming on that front. I'm scheduling the newest episode in the next couple weeks, and we will be discussing that soon. I promise. They Live by Film. Some of my oldest friends in this sector. They are incredibly entertaining people from 3 different weird like corners of the world coming together to share sometimes very different opinions on films, and it's just a blast. The Unsung Horrors podcast, they are taking a film that has less than 1,000 views on Letterboxd and just talking about it because nobody else is, so they want to talk about it. Following that, we have one more, and that's the one we already talked about earlier, the official Mono Macabro podcast called Wild Side. It's a blast. I hope people go check it out. We only have 1 episode up, but the next one will be coming in just a few weeks, and it's a hell of a lot of fun.
I got to say, I realize I listen to way more podcasts because I know all those names from New World, Indicator Cast, all of them. Yeah, they're all on my Spotify.
Yep, I'm glad people are into them.
But yeah, send the link over afterwards and put it in so people can see. Look at your check out your stuff. There's a Facebook page. You have a Facebook page as well that people can go and reach. There we go, right there. We got I'm copying that right now, so we can put that. What's the sense? Because I am it's been a pleasure. I hope we gotta not keep this as long next time around.
Yeah.
It's just getting the time because Ryan's reached out to me a couple times. And he said, we should chat. We should do something. And I'm like, definitely. And then he's got to come back to me again because I'm like, he'll say it again. We really should do something. Like, yeah, let's do it. I'm like, okay, when do you want to do something? So and he's like, hey, I'm available this Friday. I'm like, perfect. Me too. And dude, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, genuinely.
I want to thank everybody for coming in tonight. I want to, if you haven't checked out disconnected. You haven't checked out his YouTube channel, for instance, make sure you check that out. If you haven't checked out these podcasts, there are some of the best. Like, dude, you like that Conrad Bain? Well, if you're a wrestling fan, you know that one. Like movie podcast. Uh, and uh, and make sure if you're a physical media advocate, if you have not checked out the magazine, just make sure that you do so. And so much. There's so many features, so many films. If you're watching this channel, if you're checking out his page, if you're on his Facebook page, if you're following him on social media, because he does this, and this is something I very muchly appreciate. And I think was it Jared that made a comment and said, there's this guy that
Yeah.
really works extremely hard on getting everything out there and announcing things, and he really gave you some really nice, it was so cool
Yeah.
to read that. It was heartwarming. Like, dude,
Yeah.
we talked with the work that you did. Yeah, if you want to know what's coming out, if you want like to keep up to date on releases that are coming out, like make sure that you're subscribed to Ryan, because that's how I know when you see me like show some stuff, usually it's because I saw that he's announced it first. He's seen it there first, and I'm like, oh, okay, so that's coming out. Like the Severin set, like, oh yeah, there we go. He knows where it's at, and then yeah. So make sure you're following that. Thank you guys for watching. Stay in because for everybody else, we will see you soon. And Thursday night, Planet Mondo. Make sure you're checking that out.